He's perfectionist. As almost everyone we've discussed would fall into that personality characteristic. They're a perfectionist. Jack Nicholson has 12 Oscar nominations and a legendary 50-year career. But his biggest secret wasn't about his acting. It was about his son, Ray. For decades, people noticed the uncanny resemblance. The same face, the same intensity, even the same disturbing grin. Ray fought against it, choosing any career except acting. But in 2024 he finally stopped running. His breakthrough performance shocked Hollywood, and Jack's recent confession about what he saw coming proves he knew this day would arrive all along. Jack Nicholson's life began with a secret so big it followed him for nearly 4 decades without him suspecting a thing. On April 22, 1937, he was born in Neptune, New Jersey, into what seemed like an ordinary family, but the truth was hidden behind carefully built lies. He grew up believing Ethel Mae Nicholson was his mother and June Nicholson was his older sister who had moved away to chase show business dreams. Even his Aunt Lorraine was presented as another sister. Everyone played along. Neighbors, friends, extended family. No one ever broke the silence. The plan had been set before he was even born. June gave birth to him in New York City, far from Neptune, so no one back home would find out the truth. It was an unspoken pact that lasted 37 years. The reason for the deception went back to when June was just 17. She had left Neptune for New York, landing a job as an Earl Carroll dancer, a glamorous position for any young woman at the time. But then she became pregnant. The father was a married man named Don, a former boyfriend who would claim paternity decades later. The scandal deepened when June admitted she wasn't entirely sure who the father was. In 1937, being an unwed mother was social ruin. Could kill careers, reputations, entire futures. So June came home in shame, gave up her baby, and agreed to live as his sister for the rest of her life. That secret stayed locked away until 1974. Nicholson was 37, riding high after 15 films in just a few years, and had just finished Chinatown. Time magazine was preparing a major cover story on him, fact-checking every detail of his life. In the process, researchers stumbled on odd gaps in the records. When they called Nicholson, they told him something unbelievable. The man he thought was his father might still be alive. Ethel Mae was actually his grandmother, and June was his real mother. The discovery came right before Chinatown's release, a movie about disturbing family secrets. The irony was almost too much to believe. When Nicholson first heard it, he called his Uncle Shorty and said, "A guy calls me and tells me my father's alive, that Ethel Mae wasn't my mother, that June was my mother. It's the most messed up thing I've ever heard." Shorty denied it at first, but then admitted it was true. By then both June and Ethel Mae had died. Nicholson would never get to ask them why they had done. Long before this, Nicholson's Hollywood journey had started in 1955 as a mail clerk in MGM's animation department. He worked for William Hanna and Joseph Barbara, the men behind Tom and Jerry. They even offered him a job as an animator, but he turned it down. Instead, a lucky break in the mailroom led to his first audition. His big screen debut came on August 18, 1958, in The Crybaby Killer. He was 20 years old. The film was about a teenager who takes a mother and baby hostage. It was cut down to just 1 hour and 21 minutes, and paired with another film as a double feature. It bombed at the box office and vanished for decades before resurfacing on DVD in 2006. In 1963, while filming The Terror with Boris Karloff, Nicholson almost drowned. He was wearing a heavy military costume for an ocean scene when the weight pulled him under. The movie had started as a 2-day shoot using leftover sets, but dragged on for 9 months with 5 different directors. It became a cult favorite partly because of its chaotic production. On that same cursed production, Nicholson met actress Sandra Knight. They married in 1962 and had a daughter, Jennifer, in 1963. It was the only marriage of his life, lasting until 1968. Those years were filled with low-budget horror films and struggles to find steady acting work. By 1967, he was also writing. He scripted The Trip, a psychedelic film about LSD, giving him much-needed income. The next year, he co-wrote Head for the Monkeys. These projects kept him afloat until his breakout role in Easy Rider in 1969. From there, he never looked back. In early 1968, Rip Torn sat across from Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda in a New York restaurant. They were talking about a new movie. The role of George Hansen, a drunken lawyer, had been written just for Torn. But somewhere between drinks and small talk, Hopper started ranting about rednecks he'd seen while scouting locations in the South. Torn, a proud Texan, didn't take it lightly. The air turned tense. Words got sharper. Voices rose. Then Hopper grabbed a steak knife. No one was hurt, but the damage was done. Torn walked away from the project that night. Years later, in 1994, Hopper told Jay Leno it was Torn who had pulled the knife. Torn was furious. He took Hopper to court, won nearly $1 million, and cleared his name. But his loss was Jack Nicholson's gain. With Torn gone, Nicholson stepped in. The part would change his life. Nicholson played George Hansen with a high, squeaky Texas draw that became unforgettable. The image of him in a football helmet, drinking and grinning, stole the movie from its own stars. He was 32 when the Academy announced his nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The movie had cost only $360,000 to make. Yet, here it was at the Oscars. Nicholson was no longer just another face in low-budget films. He was suddenly someone Hollywood had to take seriously. Easy Rider hit theaters on July 14, 1969, and became more than a movie. It was a mirror for a restless generation. Young Americans turning away from tradition, from the Vietnam War, from conformity. Nicholson's George Hansen was the bridge between the straight-laced world and the counterculture. A man who understood both but belonged fully to neither. The film sparked trends in music, fashion, and lifestyle. It helped launch the new Hollywood era, where small, risky projects could rival big studio productions. And Nicholson's face was now tied to that rebellion. Before this, he had been stuck in small TV parts in Roger Corman B movies, sometimes for just a few hundred. Easy Rider changed that in a single summer. The movie earned $60 million worldwide, with $41.7 million in the US alone. Nicholson's paychecks jumped to six figures. He told his agent he wanted unusual roles now, saying, "Your name becomes a brand. You become Campbell's Soup with 31 varieties of roles." People began comparing him to Marlon Brando and James Dean. Nicholson didn't just act in Easy Rider. After shooting, he helped edit it. Dennis Hopper had 80 hours of raw footage that needed shaping.